Hey guys, Kate here. In week 6, we are going to cover the ASP.NET basics. Some of the things that we're going to cover: common window controls, naming conventions, reducing event handlers, and it's good to know the structure, the components of web applications. So you should be familiar with the structure. You have a web server, it connects to the internet, which goes to your computer, tablet, or smartphone. You have a database, it goes to ASP.NET or an application server, which then goes to the web server, which then goes to your HTTP request or HTTP response with HTML. And then that goes to your web browser. So it's good to know this. This should be pretty much a review, but again, here's some diagrams for you. I've created kind of a little breakdown here of how it works. So you have ASP.NET. ASP.NET uses Razor syntax, which is a simple programming syntax for embedding server code in web pages. Razor syntax is based on the ASP.NET framework, which is part of the Microsoft.NET framework that's specifically designed for creating web applications. You have web pages, web forms, single page apps, and MVC. A single page app is no need to build a project, but it's code that can be refreshed, and it's easy to then move that code into an MVC. MVC ASP.NET is having absolute control of HTML, supports unit testing, and agile methodologies, which is typically used for software development. Web forms are control-based programming modules such as data grid, list views, or third-party controls. Then down here, we have a similar triangle, except it's services, web API, SignalR, and then ASP.NET. So, web API, it is a framework that makes it easy to build HTTP services that reaches a broad range of clients, including browsers and mobile devices. ASP.NET Web API is an ideal platform for building RESTful applications on the .NET framework. SignalR, on the other hand, is a new library for ASP.NET developers that make developing real-time web functionality easy. SignalR allows bi-directional communication between server and client. Servers can now push content to connected clients instantly and as it becomes available. Something I also wanted to show you here is just some good resources. So we have www.asp.net. If you go here and you go to Get Started, there's some good videos and coding resources here on websites, APIs, and real time. So what I just talked about. So for example, if you go into websites here under Learn More, it's going to show you all the things that you can do. Okay, and there's tons of videos, tons of things on why you should do it and what you would use it for. So I recommend checking out those resources. Also, ASP.NET involves HTML. So just for some good review on HTML, you can go to w3.org. This here you can search any kind of HTML code that you need help with, or CSS, and it will help show you how to reproduce it. Something else I want to show you here is just a little bit of some code. So if I go back to my PowerPoint here, you'll see here to start a new project in Visual Studio, you want to open File, New, Project, and then either a .NET empty website or a .NET web form site. Okay, so either will work. If you open an empty one, you can add additional forms by right-clicking in the Solution Explorer, then Add New Item. As I mentioned, there is a little bit of HTML, so this here will show you how to do the head of your document essentially and how you would call it. And you'll see here that it's calling a style sheet and if you had a title tag on the page. This shows you how a table works. You'll see here that there's a table ID, the width of the table, you have cell spacing and horizontal line is center. You want the back color to be white. It's going to align left, and the height of the table is 100. Okay, and we also have a little logo PNG file on there. So this shows you how to build that in ASP.NET. Okay, a validator. A validator is a web form control available in the toolbox in Visual Studio. It can be configured in properties or in the source. Most common ones are required field validator and range validator. So here's a required field validator, for example. Required field validator, this one here has a control to validate, which is your text interest rate. It's displaying dynamically. And the error message we want to come up is interest rate is required, and we want it to come up in red. Okay, so if the person enters a value that's not an interest rate or they don't enter anything, interest rate is required. Okay, so simple require statement, you've done those before. I also want to go here and show you some other code. So here's a script, run that. This is if someone clicks a button, it's going to say page is valid or page is not valid. So just some simple script there. And here's how to do a range validator. Okay, so with a range validator, you have a control to validate the text box, and you're going to have a minimum and maximum value, and then you enter the text that you want to be displayed. So there's an on-click format there, an on-click button there, and essentially what this is going to reproduce is simple little code here. We have a range validator example, enter a number from 1 to 10. This is what it looks like in HTML. So if we enter a number from 1 to 10, it's going to display properly. If we don't, it's going to throw back something that says, oops, you didn't do it correctly. Okay, so this is just some basics. I really recommend you use these resources. They're great. I use them all the time for ASP.NET. There's tons of good videos on how to get started. Okay, thanks guys.